Item C, the school closure consolidation criteria. We have Mr. Davis who's going to cover that, but I need to make some preliminary remarks that will put into the proper context the status of this whole school closing consolidation process. I certainly thank those of you that diligently attended the 2 parent community forums. Your input was not only valued and important, it was considered. To the extent, if you recall, we were supposed to bring this issue to the board tonight. As a result of what we heard, we have requested and been granted additional time to fashion and formulate the best recommendations that we can. There are many individuals involved in that process. Mr. Jim Davis, who you're going to hear from shortly. Mrs. Warsey Gregory, just kind of wave your hand if you're here. Ms. Virginia Atchison, Mr. Nate Rowan, Ms. Julie Lamont, Mr. Venkat Sarapalli, Mr. Steve Serkane, Ms. Nabilia Bakhtar, Ms. Madeline Shanahan, Mr. Dan Long, Mr. Brian Ralph, Ms. Debbie Jackson, Ms. Diana Rouse, Mr. Bob Killips, and Mr. Sergio Keck. Those individuals have been meeting since March 9th, so that you know they have spent many, many hours on this issue. They reconvened this morning, and they have several additional meetings planned and scheduled before there is a final recommendation. And that's the point that I wanted to make to you, that the recommendation on school closure / consolidation has not been made, and the committee continues to do its work. To give you some idea of that process, we've placed this item on the agenda so that you know the criteria that's being used during those discussions. So I would ask Mr. Davis to review with you that criteria. Mr. Davis.
Thank you, Dr. Wallace. Excuse me. There are basically 4 criteria that the School Building Closure Consolidation Subcommittee is looking at to try to formulate a recommendation to Dr. Wallace. And the areas that I'm going to cover are very specific to that ultimate recommendation. The first one is enrollment and demographics. And enrollment and demographics are very simple in one regard. Enrollment is simply how many students are currently attending a given building and where do those students come from. And that's what the demographic piece relates to. Are they neighborhood school attendance area students? Are they schools of choice students? Are they students who are transported there, as well as are there students who walk there? And what kind of socioeconomic as well as ethnic background represents the total student body as they're being served by a given school. So that is what enrollment and demographics cover when we look at that particular characteristic. We also look at building capacity utilization, and that's a fancy way of saying how well is the building used based on its ultimate capacity. And capacity utilization refers to not only the number of students there, but what is the ultimate capacity for growth within a building, and how are the rooms and spaces within a building currently being utilized, and are they being utilized at their maximum efficiency. We also look at the facility condition and capital needs. In other words, what's the current condition of the building and what would the capital needs be? What amount of money would the district have to put into the building to either upgrade the facility or make it more usable or user-friendly for the needs of the students and the community. And last but not least, of course, geographic location and community value. Geographic location is a simple concept, except that it refers primarily to where is it located in the community, how many students can it service in its current position, what will that mean in terms of boundary lines within the district, in terms of student attendance for a given school. And the community value is something that is not a concrete measure, but we do look at how many community programs are housed in the building. How is the community being serviced by the building outside of just educational programs? Do other outside agencies use the building? Do we house programs within the building that service the community that surrounds the building? And what's the proximity to other schools in the district should students have to be served from multiple locations? So those are the four major criteria. We try to come up with a value, scored value for each of those areas, and then try to make ultimate recommendations. Obviously, as Dr. Wallace has stated, and of course as all of you who are currently in the room, we have fantastic teachers and fantastic parents and students in the district, and this is not a job that is being taken lightly or without great consideration for the importance of making the very best choice possible given very, very difficult circumstances.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. Madam Vice President, that completes the superintendent's report.